Revolutionary greetings, comrades. We want to conclude on the program of the Zimbabwe Communist Party, titled Completing the Liberation of Zimbabwe, as adopted at the first Congress of the Zimbabwe Communist Party in December 2019. The first part that we dealt with was a historical background, going back to 1890 when the South African British Company raised its flag on a hilltop in what we call Harare today. The second part, we dealt with the cause of the liberation struggle. We then moved in to look to post-liberation, or what is popularly known as post-independence. We went through the economic structural adjustment program up to the chaotic land reform of 2000. We then gave you what the Zimbabwe Communist Party thinks should happen in rebuilding the economy of Zimbabwe. And we are saying we need to build a national democratic economy. So we tried in this program to speak to different sectors of the economy: agriculture, mining, and the other sectors of the economy, banking, and so on. So as we conclude, it's important to characterize or to define the nature of this program, because we are a communist party. That is the class nature of this program. Comrades will expect that at this stage we should be putting together, should have adopted a socialist economic program in rebuilding the Zimbabwean economy. But after a careful study of our own conditions, we agreed and resolved at Congress that we need a transitional period. That is to say, moving from where we are currently and transit to socialism. So before we transit to socialism, we need to build a national democratic economy. So this then says that the program that the Zimbabwe Communist Party adopted, it is not a socialist program. And because of the specific problems of Zimbabwe, because of the most total destruction of the economy by the parasitic black bourgeoisie, we have the situation where most of the working class is involved in the informal economy. Some are in the diaspora. At this stage, there's no possibility for immediate socialism, but the demand for national planning and return to a form of an economy that was in place prior to ESAP, this becomes attractive to most Zimbabweans, that we need to return our economy to what it was in 1990 before we adopted the neoliberal program in 1991. Once we return our economy to what it was in 1990, we'll be able, therefore, to begin at the workplace to organize effectively workers into trade unions and work towards the transition to a socialist economy. Therefore, this program is a multi-class program of a kind, originally espoused by the national liberation movement rather than by the communist parties. The almost total takeover of the liberation movement by the black parasitic bourgeoisie has meant that this immediate stage of development between capitalism and socialism must be led by communists. It's important that the building of a national democratic economy must be led by communists. However, we must be mindful of the errors of the past. We must be mindful of the dangers of a multi-class program, even though it is the only way forward at the present time. We must also be mindful of the dual nature of the African struggle. Our Communist Party is made up of both former members of ZANU-PF and the members of the MTC. We note in our program that the ZANU-PF government has frequently adopted a principled stand against imperialism, especially with regard to the Congo War of 1998 to 2003. Many of the positions of the ZANU-PF government, such as on the question of democratization of the United Nations, are anti-imperialist and in line with the thinking of communists. And this is why Mugabe was portrayed or was loved by many across the globe in the progressive world because of his stance on the on imperialism. But at home, that government, that is the ZANU-PF government, especially under Mugabe, now under President Emmerson Mnangagwa, are totally under control of the parasitic black bourgeoisie, which has plundered the economy and impoverished the people. So the majority of the people in Zimbabwe do not think that anything good in terms of commitment to rebuild the economy will come out of a ZANU-PF-led government. This is why the working class in Zimbabwe support the MTC, now Triple C. And we dealt briefly in this program to the background of the formation of the MTC, particularly after the adoption of the neo-liberal program in 1991, how progressive civil societies led by the Zimbabwe trade unions came together to then establish the movement for democratic change. And then it drew parallels on how the liberation movement itself, which was started by the workers, was hijacked, that just as the MTC was later hijacked. We as African communists must therefore advance the concept of the dual struggle, a struggle against imperialism. It's very important that we stress this point, that ours is a class struggle, a dual struggle for that matter, a struggle against imperialism. We should not, as communists, stand in one corner with we stand on one corner with imperialist forces. This is why we are opposed to what is happening currently in Eastern Europe. We are also involved. We are also against the parasitic bourgeoisie in Zimbabwe that continues to loot resources in our country. That's the dual struggle that we are talking about, and we must build an economy that is free from imperialist influence. We need to build a national democratic economy if we are to build a prosperous Zimbabwe and a prosperous Africa. But because of the dangers of the hijacking of this multi-class program, we as communists must make sure that the working class and the peasantry lead this process, because the next phase is socialism. If the working class and the peasants do not lead this process, it is going to be hijacked. And this can only happen if we build unity amongst the working class formations and the rural-based organizations, the women's organization, youth organizations. So it is critical that we play our vanguard role in strengthening those organizations so that they lead in the implementation or in the rebuilding of the Zimbabwean economy through the national democratic economy before we transit to a socialist economy. So that's the Zimbabwe Communist Party program, which we are calling our comrades to engage on so that we begin the process of building a national democratic economy in Zimbabwe. This calls on all of us to commit to this program. It calls on all of us to educate those in the informal sector, people at the workplace, and in our different mass movements that we belong to, educate them about this program, engage on this program if we want to rebuild the Zimbabwean economy. So we invite comrades to engage with this document, for comrades to have a better understanding on what the Zimbabwe Communist Party is putting on the table. Otherwise, comrade, thank you so much for participating in this discussion. We started some 2-3 months ago going through this document, and we recognize some of your comments that you sent through. We will then in the following videos be discussing other issues pertaining to Zimbabwe and to the struggle of the workers in Zimbabwe and the international class struggle as a whole. Otherwise, Amandla comrades, have a great day.